My job is, pilot reporter, so you get the benefit of flying as well as talking on air, so it's kind of neat.
One More resident is providing an eye in the sky for television news viewers. We'll show you how this Iraq War veteran became the newest pilot of News Chopper 4. But first,
here in central Oklahoma, we have the finest weather observing network anywhere in the world when it comes to severe weather.
A key component of that network is the Volunteer Storm Spotter program. Find out how a small group of volunteers work to keep the city safe when severe weather strikes. Stay tuned, it's all coming up after this. Moore has experienced 5 tornadoes in the past 40 years. Of those, 4 were in the past 13 years, 1998, 99, 2003, and 2010. The 99 tornado was an F5, one of the most powerful storms on record. The first tornado ever recorded in Moore history took place in April of 1893 and was rated an F4. Of the many Moore homes destroyed during the May 9th tornado of 2003, one of them was that of Garrett Clark's grandparents. As a volunteer storm spotter for the city of Moore, he provided early warning that may have saved their lives.
It gave them about a minute to get in their shelter, and my grandparents were just quick enough to get in something, and it was because somebody like us warned them that they needed to get out of the way. So it's just kind of my way of giving back.
Garrett is one of about 20 storm spotters who help protect Moore when inclement weather looms.
The volunteers that do storm observation for the city of Moore supplement the information that we receive from the National Weather Service and assist the Weather Service and the city in determining whether or not to issue tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, or other types of severe weather advisories to our citizens and visitors here.
When forecasters call for severe weather, folks like Garrett are called into position, usually at locations on the perimeter of Moore facing an oncoming storm.
They're reporting back if they've got strong winds, if they see any rotation in the clouds, if they've got hail, the severe hail, just about anything, that's severe limits.
When severe weather hits, Shirley Kitch volunteers her time to coordinate all of the storm spotters, relaying their reports to the emergency manager.
If we have a spotter that has rotation and has got a funnel cloud or sees a funnel cloud or a tornado, that will be passed along to Gayland, and Gayland will determine at that time and probably will blow the tornado sirens, and has.
If you haven't figured out by now, Shirley Kitch is the wife of Moore's emergency manager, Gayland Kitch. That makes the weather something of a family affair and brings it very close to home. One of those storm spotters on the front line is their son, Austin.
Then his first time out spotting, he spotted a tornado, and it was the one that we got hit on May 10th of 2 years ago. That was pretty exciting, I guess is a word you could use for it.
While it might be exciting at times, storm spotting requires a lot of patience, as most of the time is spent waiting and watching. A far cry from the sensational storm chasers you see on TV.
Storm spotting is not as glamorous as it looks on the Discovery Channel. The vast majority of us just have our everyday vehicles that we drive around town, and it's a lot of waiting. It's not driving into the heart of the tornado and getting dime-sized hail that turns into baseballs to softballs to grapefruit or whatever. It's a lot of sitting, a lot of waiting, and then something happens or it doesn't, and it's over with.
we're sitting in one spot waiting for the weather to come to us, and we observe from our location where we're at. Now, we're taking into account safety. We don't want to get inside the big heavy hail part of the storm. We don't want to be right up where the tornado's at. We almost want to make a trip line, and we want to let the storms go by, and we want to analyze from our location what's going on. For the most part, we don't miss very much just spotting from where we're at.
On a typical severe weather event, Shirley will activate the storm spotters by assigning them to key locations throughout the city. They report everything they're seeing that might be severe, which is then relayed to the National Weather Service in Norman. The Weather Service relies on networks of municipal storm spotters across the state to help determine weather alerts. Those alerts then lead to the activation of warning sirens and are relayed to area media so you can take action.
It's all about information. It's all about sharing information. And here in central Oklahoma, we have the finest weather observing network anywhere in the world when it comes to severe weather. And it is a partnership. It is a partnership with our television stations, with our Weather Service personnel, and with our local emergency management and Skywarn storm spotters.
While radar technology has come to play a key role in this process, spotters will tell you nothing beats visual confirmation.
We got to see the rotation going all the way to the ground. So we have storm spotters who actually go out there and physically get to see the bottom of the clouds, the tornado touching the ground. That's what makes a tornado, is actually the circulation being connected to the cloud base. And the Weather Service, emergency management, even your local television stations have to have guys in the field actually physically seeing what's going underneath the storm.
To do all of this correctly, storm spotters are required to undergo regular training through the National Weather Service in Norman, and then be willing to sit for long hours, watching for a storm that may or may not be dangerous.
It takes a lot of dedication to be able to go out and sit at 2 in the morning for 2 or 3 hours waiting on something that ends up not coming out, and you still go out the next time and the next time and the next time. It's a real value to the community to have a system of early warning networks.
The new Public Safety Center, now being constructed at Main and Broadway, will not only include a new police department and municipal court facility, but also a new emergency management center. The new emergency management center will cover about 8,600 square feet, as opposed to the 600 square foot facility currently located within City Hall. Included in the plans is a new 911 dispatch center and operations room for dispatchers. It will also house an emergency operations area for city leaders to meet and make plans in the event of a crisis. The new facility is slated to be up and running within the next 2 years. Sometimes the unique vantage point of a news helicopter is essential to really tell a story, like this footage of Moore after 1999's devastating tornado. It's a perspective unavailable from the ground.
Chopper 4 to Houston.
Go ahead, Chopper 4.
For one Moore resident, it's the only way to report.
Pretty much my dream job. This is the market I always wanted to work in, was TV, especially flying for TV. Because you get to see things, firsthand, which is neat.
John Welsh is the brand new Chopper 4 news helicopter pilot.
My job is pilot reporter, so you get the benefit of flying as well as talking on air. So it's kind of neat. Sometimes it can be nerve-wracking, just because you have, you're going to be talking to approach. You might be talking to a tower. There's 2 or 3 other aircraft that are covering the same story. The police helicopter might be there. So there's a lot of voices going on in your head, and it's kind of tough at first because you need to figure out which ones are the most important ones.
Aside from radio traffic in his helicopter, the most important voices for John are right here. Choosing to move to Moore in 2008 centered squarely on his family. In making their decision, they actually checked the emergency response times for police and fire across the metro and found Moore's to be among the best. That, along with Moore's hometown feel, sealed the deal.
The best thing I like about it is the parks and stuff that are right there. It's you get the small town feel, you know, in close proximity to the big city. So you come home and it's like, oh, this is my neighborhood, but I don't feel like I'm living in a big metropolitan area.
In flying Chopper 4, John often has to maneuver into severe weather areas to provide storm coverage. That can be stressful, but not nearly as much as the job he had before this. Prior to Chopper 4, John was a military pilot flying Black Hawk attack helicopters, having served in Iraq on numerous missions.
If you're just going from point A to point B, it is definitely easier to fly a Black Hawk than the Chopper 4. But it's also, you know, the benefit of this is it's a lot smaller, it's more maneuverable, and it's kind of fun to fly, if you will.
More fun for the family, too. While John does fly into inclement weather at times, his wife will take that over Iraq any day of the week.
And he's flown in weather like this in Iraq while people are shooting at him. So this is a lot easier. I actually get to see him. I know he's safe. I know he's being safe, you know, getting himself the distance he needs to get the shot, but being safe to where he's going to come home to us at the end of the day.
Still, when severe weather strikes, try explaining all of that to his 10-year-old daughter.
Morgan, you know, she's 10, so she knows. She got nervous Friday night. She actually started crying because she was worried Daddy was going to get caught up in the tornado.
As an Iraq War veteran, John's family appreciated KFOR's commitment to hire him, especially considering he still flies Blackhawks on weekends as a member of the Oklahoma National Guard.
And I was, you know, grateful and Channel 4 for hiring a veteran. A lot of our veterans coming home right now, you see in the paper, they don't have jobs and they're, you know, struggling to find a job. And for a company to take on one, especially one that's still in the Guard, and gonna, you know, okay, we'll let you off for, you know, your drills or your summer camp or whatever, I thought, you know, that's incredible of them.
In the Black Hawk, John's job is to fly. Someone else controls the weapon systems in the back seat. While Chopper 4 has no need for weapons, it does have one powerful camera, also operated by a photographer in the back seat.
Here's pretty much the brains of everything. They operate the camera, they move it by this. We can pan it left or right to compensate if we're banking the aircraft. Yeah, this is, again, it's a Cineflex V14 high definition camera. It's, you know, in a nice case here. The benefit of the camera, if you can see how big the housing is in here, it allows us to move the camera around in a greater, faster distance than the FLIR that we had before. It has 5 gyros that stabilize it, so you know the camera is going to be moving around like this as we're flying, but your picture is going to remain the same. So it's a great addition to the Bob Moore Chopper 4.
Much like his missions in Iraq, John often has to get Chopper 4 up in the air quickly to cover breaking news. From the moment he receives an assignment to getting the helicopter airborne takes about
3 to 4 minutes, because after we start the aircraft up, you have to let it warm up for a minute before you can continue to start it. So you look at like 30 seconds to start it, a minute, then fly about 30 seconds after that, and then you're off. So usually, always under 5 minutes.
Whether it's flying Blackhawks in the National Guard or tracking storms from the air, John Welsh has turned his profession into a true community service.
I kind of still look at myself in a way as like a public servant. I'm out there to help, you know, the public. So if by me seeing the storm and showing you where it's at, you can, you know, get cover or know, hey, I'm clear. It'll kind of help keep people safe.